Nicol Bolas has been on his best behavior, so he's finally allowed outside of the timeout corner. Hey there, kiddos, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank, and that you are having a great day. And in today's video, we're going to be sitting back in the squeaky chair, relaxing, and having a little conversation about PSA, grading, and news, and the overall state of the graded card world. Because, yeah, earlier today is the 28th, for the curious, PSA has put out a news bulletin that I think is worth reading and covering on this channel, and I will save my comments for after I've read it all to you. So let's get started with, due to demand spike, PSA pauses value tiers, extends Collectors Club memberships, and launches public backlog tracker. Oh boy. On May 14th, we announced a significant infrastructure investment and introduced updated turnaround times to provide a more accurate roadmap for submissions. Collectors responded to these updates with another rapid surge in demand, resulting in a 20% spike in submissions that added another 1.6 million cards to our active backlog that is rapidly approaching 10 million. While our daily grading output is at an all-time high, with capacity up 5x since 2021, continuing to accept submissions at this breakneck pace would put more pressure on our operations and compromise the turnaround time of existing orders. To clear this bottleneck and protect the integrity of the PSA standard, we are taking a direct, proactive step. Effective Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026, we are temporarily pausing new submissions for the 4 value service tiers: Value Bulk, Value, Value Plus, and Value Max. What is changing on June 2nd, 2026? We are aggressively committing our resources to focus on processing the cards currently in our care. This requires a temporary adjustment to our service levels. Temporarily paused tiers, Value Bulk, Value, Value Plus, and Value Max will be closed to new submissions. All active submissions will continue to be processed under the submitted turnaround times. Remaining open tiers, Regular, Express, Super Express, and Walkthrough and above will remain fully active. Regular service adjustment. Because we are approaching a 10 million card backlog, that impacts our entire operational pipeline. From receiving to shipping, the estimated turnaround time for regular service will be temporarily extended to 40 to 50 days and 50 to 60 days for dual service authentication. As these higher tiers represent a smaller fraction of our total volume, keeping them open will not slow down our progress as we authenticate and grade the 10 million cards in our queue. When will value tiers be reinstated? This temporary pause is tied strictly to operational milestones, not arbitrary dates. Our target is to bring the backlog down to 5 million units, with our current projections anticipating it will take up to 4 months to achieve this goal. To keep ourselves accountable, we will update a backlog tracker monthly on this page so you can see the same numbers our management team sees. Although this remains a fluid situation, we plan to reopen paused service tiers as backlog conditions improve, and we can do so responsibly. And they have a little mock-up of the tracker. Next up, Collectors Club membership extensions. As a key feature of Collectors Club membership, we understand how upsetting it is to temporarily lose access to the Value Bulk grading tier. Every Collectors Club membership that was active on May 14th, 2026, and remains active will be extended for free for the full duration of the Value Bulk grading service pause. To confirm your membership is active, head to the membership section of your account and check that your status shown as active. Finally, the $200 million investment is moving forward. Very loud truck outside. This pause is a deliberate structural defense of the future we are building, not a retreat from it. PSA's operational health has never been stronger, and our recently announced $200 million capital commitment remains fully funded and in active deployment. By temporarily halting the influx of our most in-demand service levels, helicopter, we are giving our newly upgraded facilities, advanced machine learning logistics tech, and new team members the necessary breathing room to operate at peak efficiency and provide collectors with the service you and your items deserve. A lot of noise going on outside. We understand that shutting down these tiers is disappointing, but trust is built on honesty, and we owe you a grading infrastructure built on reality, not optimism. Thank you for your patience, your accountability, and your continued trust as we help build a stronger collecting community. That was the article. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. Key one is, holy crap, they have 10 million cards in their queue. That is an insane amount of cards to be grading. That is nutso to me. Just flat out, that's a crazy amount of cards for anyone to process. And they optimistically say that it could take up to 4 months to clear that and cut that number in half. I hope that they're right. So, let's talk about this. Obviously, in recent years, especially as the Pokemon craze has heated back up and One Piece was added to the fire, and there's more and more incentive now to grade, especially like rarer sports cards, trading card game cards, etc. I'm not terribly surprised that PSA is receiving more and more influxes of value grading submissions, especially for people who are looking to grade as many cheap cards as possible to throw them in things like mystery slab grab bags, you know, the random PSA graded 8 and above packages you can pick up at basically every convention now because there's so many people doing that. But there's an influx of people doing that. There was the GameStop partnership that they had where people would just send their cards through GameStop, which I still think is an extremely irresponsible thing to do. Why would you? I wouldn't trust GameStop with like anything, let alone my my most prized possessions. Why would I grade for them? But of course, you know, it's not just people doing blind box grab bags. It's also investors, the Poke Bros, the One Piece Bros, who are looking for a quick turnaround and a quick buck to make. Because, yeah, you know, it seems we are definitely in the age of get something graded no matter how cheap it is, no matter how plentiful it is, no matter how common it is. And if you can get that cherished PSA 10 on the card, again, no matter how common the card really is, you can get quite the premium for it. That's the money. Yeah. We had a truck, we had a helicopter, now we have a train. This is the trifecta video of interrupted noises. But yeah, you know, the TCG market is growing. And obviously as the TCG collector's market grows, obviously the graded card collector's market will grow. And of course, PSA is at the head of the market. It's the largest grading company, it's the most well-known grading company, and it is the most desirable slab. You know, which is taken as a true statement, a statement of fact, even though it is a purely subjective opinion in my opinion. I don't know about you guys, but I think the PSA slab does not look that great. There have been some questions in the few hours since this article's gone live. There have been some people asking how this will affect certain things, such as the GameStop partnership. And I personally believe if they are cutting, if they're pausing these value grading submissions, I believe that will 100% affect GameStop, since that was primarily the appeal of that partnership. People could just send their cards through GameStop. GameStop would submit en masse, presumably. I would assume that's how it's done. GameStop would just send off a shitload of cards all at once as a bulk submission. I'm going to go ahead and assume that will come to an end for a bit. Yes, there's definitely a lot of people who grade through GameStop, but there's also a lot of people who grade on an individual level, who just have the money to front a huge grading submission like that. Because even at the bulk tiers, even at the value bulk tiers, it's still a lot of money. You know, you send in 50 cards, that's still going to cost you a pretty penny, just so we're clear. And also, just super clear, it's not just PSA that's doing this. CGC has apparently revised their turnaround times recently. I heard a rumor that Tag is also pausing their one of their submissions or one of their submission tiers. So it's not just PSA. The entire grading market is hyper inflated right now as more and more people are looking to get a quick buck on their graded cards, or there's more people entering the hobby. More people are collecting cards than ever before because there's a lot of attention on it. You know, there is a lot of people looking at trading card games as a whole and trading cards as a whole. It's not just TCGs. Don't forget that sports cards and non-sports trading cards are also a huge part of the market. You know, especially since there's more crazy variant top and upper deck cards every year. There's all kinds of cool stuff that comes out every year. I know that we don't talk about trading cards on the channel a whole lot, but there is definitely a lot of cool stuff out there that people are genuinely excited for and happy to have graded in bulk, in mass, regardless of the price tag they have to pay for it. And speaking of the price tag, I think that this will definitely have a knock-on effect on the overall graded card market. You know, there's a lot of people who, what they'll do is they'll send in bulk cards to PSA, and they'll get, you know, they'll send in 50 cards, and if they get a 9 and a 10, that can pay for the entire lot in theory. But what they'll do with the sevens and such, they'll just throw them up on eBay for like $15 a slab, and they'll call it a day because someone will, especially in the crazy Pokemon market, someone probably wants that oddish 151 PSA 7. You know, there's probably a buyer for that, especially in the heated market we're in right now. But I think a lot of those $15, $20 cards are going to start disappearing from eBay. Or at least, I should say, if PSA is as scarce and as desirable as a lot of the collector bros swear it is, it's as foundational to the collecting world as a lot of people swear it is. I think that there's definitely going to be a price shift in the cheapest tier of cards, especially since no more cheap cards are coming to market because no more cheap submissions are being accepted through PSA. Now, I also think that there's just going to be, hopefully, in my opinion, I hope that when PSA opens up grading again, this big investment they made towards getting new staff and new facilities and all that jazz, I hope that some submissions cool down and people stop, you know, running to the door, so to speak, to try and get their grading out the door the moment submissions are open again. Because this has happened before. The moment submissions were up again, people just started dumping their cards on PSA. But I hope that their new capacity will allow them to keep up with whatever the new wavings, the new surge of submissions ends up being. That's what I hope, at least. Because backlogs like this aren't good for anyone, and overglooding the market like this, in my opinion, is just not good. Yes, there is, in my opinion, too much of a good thing, and too much of these graded cards and these people trying to get a quick dollar in graded cards can definitely cause what feels like a bubble, what feels like a floodgate almost, where there's too many people trying to get the same value out of the market, too many people trying to grade their cards at once, especially with a lot of cheaper cards that really don't need to be graded. You know, the uncommon reverse hollow foil you pulled from a pack that you have 30 copies of, that does not need to be graded, man. You know it. Not every Pikachu you pull out of a pack needs to get graded. It just is what it is. But what do you guys think? Is your uncle crazy wrong? Is your uncle crazy right? Do you grade cards? I don't grade through PSA. I do grade occasionally, but I pretty much only grade Flesh and Blood cards, and I don't do that through PSA. I have graded some Yu-Gi-Oh cards lately, though. But I digress. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Leave a like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. This is pretty big news, in my opinion, so I couldn't help but cover it on the channel. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow when I cover whatever else I find interesting that day. Ciao!